everyone, welcome back to another video where today we're going to be finally talking about the consolidated figures for Wild Blue Yonder, as well as the overnight figures for the Giggle, as well as the Audience Appreciation Index, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about what we could possibly expect for consolidated figures for the Giggle, as well as figures for the Christmas special. But before we get into that, if you could do me a teeny little favour and click that subscribe button, it'd be very much appreciated. We are trying to get as many subscribers as possible before the end of the year, and we are almost at 23,000 subscribers, so if we could get there by the end of this month, that would be absolutely wonderful. But with that said, let's get into the video. So as always, my main ratings man for Doctor Who is Lizona Zimba. Doctor Who The Giggle had an overnight of 4.62 million TV viewers on BBC One last night, according to BARB figures. Strictly was the night's most watched with 7.56. I'm a Celebrity got 5.25. As ever, consolidated figures will be the most important factors. What's interesting about this is that this is only a drop again of about 200,000 from the previous episode, which people will say, oh, that's terrible, 200,000 viewers. That's actually really good. And that was the case also for Wild Blue Yonder. And that's actually very, very good. When we compare it to series of old, for example, Series 6, which is one I just picked at random, you'll see that the Impossible Astronaut got a consolidated figure of 8.86 million, but Day of the Moon got 7.3. Well over a million dropped viewers between the first and second episode. So for an audience retention to fall by just 200,000 is actually incredibly good. Also, interestingly, The Giggle scored an Audience Appreciation Index of 85. This is the highest since World Enough in Time, one of Peter Capaldi's penultimate episodes, and personally one of my absolute favourites of the revival. So it's clear to see the audience are on board with this. For the record, I think that Wild Blue Yonder got an 83, and the Star Beast got an 84. 84 and 85 are both higher than anything we saw in the Whittaker era, I do believe. So it's very clear the audience are getting back on board for this. Obviously, Audience Appreciation Index might not overall reflect your opinion on episodes, but they do signify that the audience is enjoying this. And then we have the consolidated figures for Wild Blue Yonder. 7.1 million. It was number 9 of the week. Once again, only beaten by I'm a Celebrity and Strictly, so it was technically the number 3 most watched programme once you take out the billion episodes of I'm a Celebrity as it airs nightly. So yeah, that's incredibly good. Again, very, very good audience retention, going from 7.6 consolidated for the Star Beast down to 7.1 million here. It'll be interesting to see if The Giggle cracks 7 million. I'm not sure whether it will. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't. I'd love it if it did. Obviously, it does have the extra hype of being Ncuti Gatwa's introductory story, and we do know, according to the Daily Mail, I believe, that audience peaked at 6.2 million for The Giggle, but obviously the overall figure was lower than that. That was just the max people watching at one time. So I'm hoping that the awareness of Ncuti Gatwa being introduced in this episode, as well as it being David Tennant's final one, it's quite a momentous episode. I'm hoping that might boost up the consolidated figures a bit. I'd love it if we could stay in that 7 million spot, because there's no way you can say a show getting 7 million viewers is in any way failing, because it just isn't. And then yeah, here you can see the actual BARB charts. You can see here it's basically just dominated by Strictly and I'm a Celebrity, and then Doctor Who is right on its tail. Interestingly, you can look again, even in this week, not even Strictly cracks 10 million in consolidated. So when people say, oh, but it's not getting 10 million, nothing really does these days, and I'm going to do another example that's going to even more demonstrate that as we talk about what we can expect for Christmas. But yeah, number 9 overall, and the third most watched programme after I'm a Celebrity and Strictly is very, very good. 7.1 is great stuff. So this is the top 50 weekly shows for the Christmas week of 2022. Now, I was curious about this because some people had told me that over the last few years, numbers on the Christmas Day slot for just every show have been going down year over year. And it's very true. Not even The King managed to get 10 million, and that's like the peak because, you know, all the old people love watching The King's Speech. Not even that cracked 10 million. Call the Midwife got 7.8, and even Strictly didn't crack 7 million. So I wouldn't expect anything too crazy for the Church on Ruby Road. I think anything sort of in the range of like a 4 million overnight would be great. I'd love it if it could get like 6 million consolidated. Again, 7 million would be lovely, but considering strictly only just about managed to do that last year, I'm not overly convinced that it will, but maybe the fact that it's the new introduction for a new Doctor and the sort of media blitz around that might help it, plus the return of the Doctor Who Christmas special. That's something people have wanted for a long, long time, so maybe that will sort of help it, plus the goodwill coming from these specials, because no matter what some channels on the internet might want to tell you, the response to these specials has been pretty much overwhelmingly positive to the general public. Obviously, fans might have some things they dislike, but generally, these specials are sort of seen quite positively by the public from what I've been seeing. Reviews are incredibly high. But yeah, my point here is just to demonstrate that I wouldn't go into Christmas expecting, like, Voyage of the Damned levels, because like I say, nothing is getting to 10 million even last year. And that's another thing that I want to just highlight again. Nothing is getting 10 million. Very rarely does a program, even in a week, consolidated figure, get 10 million, with the exception of, like, the first I'm a Celebrity and stuff like that. Most of those aren't pulling in 10 million. As you can see from last week, I'm a Celebrity didn't even crack 9 million, let alone 10. And Strictly did crack 9 million, but once again, didn't crack 10. So people expecting Doctor Who to do 10 million, it's just not realistic in the TV climate currently. But again, coming back to my Series 6 comparison, because I wanted to use this. Series 6 is a pretty popular series. It's remembered as being the one that got the American audience on board. It's generally seen as quite a strong success, and Matt Smith's Doctor is probably one of the most popular of the revival, second only to David Tennant himself. And if we look at these numbers, obviously you've got the insane Christmas Carol numbers, but even then, 8 million, 7 million, 7 million, just under 8 million, 7 million. Under 7 million, we go to 6.7 million for the Almost People, 7.5 million for Good Man Goes to War. You get a slight bump for Let's Kill Hitler. I think a lot of people are curious about that one. Night Terrors, just over 7 million, 7.6, 6.77, 6.93, 7.67 for The Wedding of River Song. So even in the Matt Smith era, what is considered to be the second most popular era of the revival, only after the Tennant years, that was still pulling 6 or 7 million. And I must remind you, that was 12 years ago. So pulling 7 million now is pretty fantastic, all things considered. And as I've stated before, we have the additional benefit with this new era of Disney Plus. Now, we still don't know Disney Plus numbers yet, but I'm sure they will contribute at least a couple million more on top of that. This is only the UK numbers, so both of those episodes getting over 7 million on launch in the UK in the year 2023 with TV on decline is very, very good going. Don't let anyone else tell you that 7 million is terrible. It just isn't. It's just not. But that's all I wanted to say. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to give it a like. Drop down your thoughts in the comments below. Please be nice. I know the last time I did this video, it kind of exploded into people being like, 7 million, that's terrible. It used to get 10 million, which wasn't even that common even back in the day. That was mainly just reserved for big specials and stuff like that. If you actually look at the numbers for things like Series 4 and 5, they weren't always cracking 10 million constantly, despite them being remembered as some of the show's most popular series. But yeah, I've said all I'm going to say. Just be respectful in the comments, and I'll see you later.